Hey, Pups here. Today we're going to be sending the Saja boys from K-pop Demon Hunters into the Cookie Run universe. While we're at it, we're gonna do some theorizing as well, so stick around and let's talk about it. The first one we're gonna tackle is Jinu. He's the leader of the Saja boys, and as far as we know, the whole thing was his idea. There's been some really fun theories about how he got the group together. Out of all the demons that we see, the Grim Reapers are the ones that look the most human. It's not really explained whether or not that these are all demons, or if they're human souls who have been trapped and controlled by Guima, or a mix of both. But one theory going around is that Jinu basically just found the prettiest Reapers and was like, hey, you want to join my band? And then just kind of pulled them all together, which I think is pretty funny. But the theory that I like more comes from one of the pictures in the fake doctor's office. There is an unusually close-up shot of him with 4 boys, and these 4 boys arguably look a lot like the ones who become Saja boys, minus Jinu because he's like, what, 400 years old or whatever. But I actually like the theory of these boys not necessarily being an unsuccessful group, but just less popular, and then they all had their own insecurities, and since Guima loves to prey on insecurities, they ended up giving over their soul to him, thinking that it was going to be better, and kind of screwed over their life, as always happens whenever you make a deal with the devil. And I kind of like the thought of having this 400-year-old something musician crossing paths with this recently dead group of boys, and just the thought of them all teaching him about K-pop and modern music, and him just learning about as much as he can and just completely embracing this new era of music. And talking about Jinu specifically for a minute, I'm gonna be so real with y'all. I actually did not care for him at first, but whenever I watched the movie the second time and then I got more involved in the fandom and saw the theories going around, it made me like Jinu a lot more. And fandom tends to have that effect on me. There's so many characters I started out not liking that fandom just made me fall in love with, and I don't think that we've seen the last of Jinu. Spoiler alert, he becomes Rumi's sword, and I really like the thought of his soul kind of being her weapon, and him not just helping her but maybe continuing to talk to her could lead to some very funny interactions, kind of like Soul Eater if you've ever watched that. But yeah, I'll be really happy if that turns out being the case. Say hello to Jinu Saja Cookie. I already warned y'all this was gonna be BTS 2.0. He is a dark magic tagger. Instead of doing most of the damage himself, he's more of the brains behind the operation. In the movie, he's shown to be very observant and is pretty skilled at figuring out people's weaknesses, and I really wanted to bring that into his kit. His greatest power is also his voice, and he would use his voice to share the enemy's weakness with his teammates and also to point them towards the best plan of action. And of course, he has to be super showy while doing so. So yeah, I can imagine his animations and special effects going so hard that it makes your phone crash. And I wanted to throw in a little nod to his past as well. Our second runner-up is Romance. Pretty much every Saja boy other than Jinu had 0 character development or background, but as I mentioned earlier, I do really like the theory of the other Saja boys having been a less successful K-pop boy band in life and then eventually falling apart because of their own insecurities, that it was too rough to keep going. I feel like they were the kind of band who just kind of wanted to make music and then not have to deal with the fans, but dealing with the fans is kind of part of being an artist like that, right? So that's my explanation for why they were so tired after the joint signing and why they seem so socially drained in general whenever they finish a show. Again, there's no confirmation, that's just my silly little theories. And if they follow the same pattern as Jinu, I would like to think that Romance Saja was, for lack of a better term, a hopeless romantic. He might have gotten very easily nervous with fans, or maybe he was the least loved of the group. or at least in his own mind, he thought that he was the least loved, or maybe there was somebody he was trying to get the attention of and he just couldn't win him over. Honestly, there's so many possibilities, but for whatever reason, he decided to make his deal with Guima, making him very romantically attractive and easy to talk to. But as with any deal with the devil, nothing good ever comes without a price. And even though he got what he wanted, and probably had his 5 minutes of fame, he kind of messed up his afterlife. When it came to designing his cookie, of course you want to play into the heart motif, but also, I had a lot of fun, like an unreasonable amount of fun, just coloring him and playing with the different shades of pinks and reds. It felt like Valentine's Day just exploded on this guy. And at first, I wasn't going to draw him with a mouth at all, like I was just going to have his hand like covering his mouth like he was getting ready to blow you a kiss. But then I thought, I can't pass up this opportunity to make some absolutely ridiculous looking kissy lips, right? So that happened. And not just with the design, but also with the color, I tried a little something different with his eyes. I think it ended up looking really nice while also fitting into the Cookie Run theme. Art-wise, this was probably one of my favorites, which is why I'm excited for you to meet Romance Saja Cookie. He is a ranged fire support. I feel like he could literally blow kisses, and the hearts can shoot out to both damage the enemies but also help his allies. I also like the idea of his ultimate being like a very strong, damaging move that nobody would expect from the guy in the back, In the movie, whenever they have the game show scene and they're all chugging hot sauce, Romance literally manifests like this little burning heart emoji thing. And kind of like Cherry Bomb Cookie, I liked the idea of taking inspiration from that for his ultimate. As with all of my designs, if you guys have any ideas for alternate movesets or artifacts, just put them down below and I will be sure to read them. Third in line is Abby. I think he's my least favorite of the Saja boys, just because I think big muscles and like really chiseled out abs and stuff are kind of nasty looking, but go off, King, do your thing. Talking about his shame a little bit, I don't know why, but I noticed that there's a lot of like actual real life men who think that they have to be really tall and muscular in order to be attractive, and that is absolutely not the case. Thank you, little dad bods over in the corner. But it is still definitely a thing, a harmful beauty standard, I would say. Like, of course you're gonna have some people who are into that, but to say like, I'm not attractive without this is an unfortunate extreme that a lot of people go to. And I feel like Abby could have gone that route. Maybe he wasn't that tall or wasn't that muscular, or just didn't think that he was pretty or attractive physically, and that's why he made his deal with Guima. That whole idea of strength could also be a thing too. Like maybe there was a fight, or he was a bystander to a crime or something, and he was like, if I was stronger, I could have done something. And that would also be a really interesting catalyst for him to make his deal. Not just being self-serving, but also just feeling like he wasn't enough as he was. But at the end of the day, that's just a theory. Ooh. But talking about the cookie a little bit, I, up to this point, have not really played around with different body styles. In that regard, this cookie was a really good challenge. I used Wild Berry Cookie and Fruit Punch Cookie as kind of a reference. And considering that this was my first time drawing a buff cookie, I think he turned out pretty dang good. And it was funny because even before I thought of using Fruit Punch as a reference, I was looking at the colors on Abby's shirt, and I guess just his color scheme in general, like with his hair and stuff, and I'm like, this fricker looks like a watermelon. So yeah, that was an original idea that didn't come off of Fruit Punch Cookie, but I know that the similarities can be kind of uncanny. And I also experimented with the pose a little bit, because up until now I've been trying to keep the front uncovered so that whenever we go back in later to draw the costumes, they're kind of in a pose where the costume is shown off best. This pose pose just really fits his personality. Don't worry, he has some abs under there, guys. Some little cookie abs. And with all that being said, it's time to meet Jinu Saja Cookie. He is an Earth Smash fighter, and even though he has a really great singing voice and some smooth moves, I definitely feel like his physical strength is his strong point. And even though he doesn't carry a weapon, he can still be lethal and crumble you all the same. If not with his fists, then with his irresistibly good looks. He's definitely the guy that they tell you to worry about. Next in line is Baby Saja. He's my favorite of the group. Not only do I adore the way that he looks and just his whole vibe, but I also love the mix of like childish and sassy that we get, especially when he raps. Just like the absolute attitude that is packed inside this little man is ridiculous. And I also love how he just chugged the hot sauce. He had no issue with it, bro. But talking about his background, his shame, one of the more popular theories that I've seen is that he wanted eternal youth and that he sort of had this fear of getting older. And I'm not gonna lie, I do like that theory, but what if I also pose the idea that I haven't heard anyone talk about of him possibly being like the oldest sibling in his family and kind of being forced to grow up before his time, you know? Especially if he has more than one sibling and he was expected to kind of be like the man of the house before he was ready, or maybe he didn't want that kind of responsibility and that kind of position. And kind of like how Jinu left his family behind to sort of like live the life of his dreams, I do like the idea of Baby Saja kind of having a similar story where he left his family in order to escape those expectations that come with being the oldest sibling, and him feeling shame over that, especially if his parents were really reliant on him to take care of the younger siblings or to take care of things around the house. I can definitely see him feeling shame that he just sort of left them, but until the shame of his deal came crashing in, he was able to enjoy what it felt like to sort of be babied, or to like be the only child, be special, you know, be the one that's always doted on. And I understand that all the Saja boys are also supposed to embody an issue or stereotype around K-pop bands, and I understand that, you know, the infantilization, did I say that word right? That's a funky word anyway, of Asian men is definitely a thing. And while some of them are sensitive to it, I also feel like that there's some who kind of enjoy it and like playing into the persona, and that's definitely the kind of character that Baby Saja is. He likes being the baby, but he can also bite both on and off the stage. Maybe I've read into it too much, but it's a little headcanon that I'm personally very happy with and I think could be realistic. So coming in hot is Baby Saja. He is a magic wind fighter. While he is pretty physically fragile, I can definitely see him being a heavy hitter. Although there's nothing in the movie that suggests that he would be able to do this, I really like the idea of him being able to use his voice to conjure up different like children's toys type of things to aid him in a fight. The first thing that comes to my mind is teddy bears, lollipops, toy trains, building blocks. I just feel like he would love to kick your butt with these things and then laugh about it. Last but certainly not least is Mystery. He is my second favorite Saja boy, and even though she ends up chopping him up in the end, I really like the idea of him being paired with Zoe. There's just something special about her being this very energetic and outgoing type of character matched with a very introverted and shy and socially awkward type of character that I think would be very nice and lead to some adorable interactions. Now, Mystery Saja was one that I was kind of wrestling with in the designing phase, and that was mainly deciding whether to make him a water type or a wind type. If he turned out being a wind type, he would have had leaf-shaped hair. Ultimately, I scrapped that idea in favor of the water one. The leaves still could come back in like a costume thing if we wanted to revisit that later. Thinking about Mystery Saja's shame, he's kind of a difficult one. There is a theory going around about him having this fear of being known, but also wanting to be popular. So whenever he struck his deal, he was able to have his popularity while still remaining anonymous. I I like that theory. However, if I were to add my own spice to the pot, I think it would be interesting if he felt shame over his identity. Either he could be the son of somebody who's famous or from a small town, and if you make one mistake, that mistake is held against you for the rest of your life because everybody knows you, everybody remembers it. He just wanted to be free from that sort of mistreatment or special treatment based on his identity. And if I'm not mistaken, he represents this idea of a lot of K-pop bands keeping some really dark secrets. There is also the possibility that even though he does come off as being very shy and awkward, that he has committed a very serious crime in his past. And that would be a very, very spicy take. And it would also make more sense why he would be driven to make a deal with the devil, because he could kind of feel stuck between a rock and a hard place, you know, like, shoot, they know I'm the person who did this, and if I get caught, my life is over, you know, and I really like that idea as well, like, whoo! So yeah, going back to the design for a little bit, I don't know why, but I had Squid Ink Cookie in mind whenever I was designing him, and I do really like that idea of him having this secret monster hidden inside. Now it's time to actually meet Mystery Saja. He is a water magic support. There were lots of different ways that I could have taken his moveset, but based on the fact that in the movie he literally barks like a dog, and that I was getting Squid Ink vibes anyways, I feel like it was fitting to lean into that monster, hidden beast type of vibe. And I'm not gonna lie, the way that that would look with the Grim Reaper skin on it, oh boy, you could have a lot of fun with that. It is the vibes, guys. I'm gonna cringe from hearing myself say that. But yeah, that will be all of the Saja boys as cookies, as well as the end of our wonderful theory crafting. If you guys have any other theories or ideas, just put them down below. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video, and then liking always helps the algorithm so that more people can see this video. To the left is another video that YouTube thinks that you'll like, and to the right is a fancy dancy playlist of all the different characters and cookie run that I have done so far. You all have a blessed day and keep being awesome. See ya!